Hi, welcome. My name is Sammy, and this week I'm making Creme De Violette. It's not a complicated process, but I thought I'd make a video to walk you through it in case anyone is interested in making their own. Spring is finally here, and I'm starting to feel like myself again, which is why I'm outside right now. It might get a little loud, the neighbors are doing neighbor things, but hopefully this is okay, because it makes me really happy. Creme de Violette is a liqueur that's made with violets, Viola odorata, sweet violets, or I think sometimes they're called heartsease or wood violets. They're little purple or white flowers that bunch up together in a little cluster with leaves that are heart-shaped and have ridges in them. So we're not talking about pansies, although they're in the same family, and we're not talking about African violets. So Creme de Violette does not contain any dairy. The creme part comes... The creme part of Creme de Violette comes from the amount of sugar that's in the drink. It's so sweet and so syrupy that it's almost creamy. A quick note about gathering wild violets. You want to make sure that you're picking from somewhere away from the roadside, somewhere that isn't sprayed with pesticides, and preferably somewhere that you're allowed to be. We don't want to be trespassing. Most sources tell you to pick the purple violets because they supposedly have a stronger odor or flavor. I do pick mostly purple, but sometimes the white ones get in there, and that's okay. They're still going to have that light floral flavor. As you can see, picking them is relatively easy. You kind of just pull up lightly and they pop right off the stem. It's a good idea to have all of your supplies ready so that when you get home, you can just focus on cleaning the violets and not have to get everything together. You're going to want to remove the petals from the calyx, this green part here. If you leave the green part in, it's going to make anything you make taste like vegetables and not like the sweet floral flavor that we want and that you get from just the petals. A word of warning though, this process does take a long time. It's great if you have kids that can help you, or if you have a few friends, it's an excellent group activity. I also want to note that I don't wash the violets before processing or after processing them. I don't want to introduce any extra water to the sugar or to the alcohol. That would make the flavor less. That's why it's even more important to make sure that you're picking your violets from a good source. I specifically also only pick the violets that are in a very grassy area. That way there's less chance that there's dirt splashed up on them. Once your calyxes have been removed, you're left with these beautiful purple petals. It feels so good to grab handfuls like that. And now it's time to start our sugar. So I start by taking a few petals, putting in the bottom of a jar, and then layering sugar on top of that. You're going to continue this process to fill the jar. Now if you don't want to make this much sugar at a time, or you don't have this many petals, that's perfectly fine. You can do less. Just use a smaller jar, or don't fill the jar. It's really okay to do however you need to do it. You can probably tell that I'm using more than half of the petals here for the sugar. That's because I wanted extra sugar syrup when I was done. So if you'd like to keep it equal, you can do half and half, but having extra syrup means you can use it in other ways. So I just went ahead and made more of that. So next up is the alcohol. We're going to place the remaining petals into a jar and top it off with whatever alcohol you chose to use. Now again, it doesn't really matter the portions because we're going for flavor, and really the more petals to alcohol you use, the stronger the flavor is going to be. As you can see, I have a lot more alcohol than petals, but we're still going to get a really nice flavor out of this. To let the sugar and the alcohol extract the flavors of the violet, we're going to let them sit for a few days, anywhere from 3 to 7. The day before you're ready to combine your sugar and your alcohol, you want to heat up the sugar in a pan with a little bit of water. I put just enough to cover it, and then we're going to let this mixture bubble for about 2 to 3 minutes. We don't really want to boil it, but we're going to let it simmer so that it infuses the violets into the sugar water a little bit better than just letting them sit in sugar. Once it's done simmering, we're going to transfer it into a heat-safe bowl. You're going to let it cool a little bit, and then you're going to cover it and put it in the fridge overnight. The next day, we're going to repeat that same process of simmering the petals in sugar just for a few minutes. Really, we want to heat it up so that it's able to be strained easier, but also get a little bit more flavor out of those petals. I also want to add that making just this syrup is an excellent idea. It's good to share with kids, it's great in lemonade, you can add it to club soda, and you can bake with it. So making a little bit extra means that you have more things you can do with your violets that you've worked so hard to process. We want to let the syrup mixture cool a bit before we mix the two together, but in the meantime, you can strain the petals out of your alcohol. I do this with a funnel and a coffee filter. You can use a regular strainer if you have one, but I feel like the coffee filter just helps keep out any small debris. Once your syrup has cooled a bit, you can go ahead and add it to your alcohol mixture. The syrup is a lot thicker than the alcohol, obviously, which is why I'm using a wider strainer. Later on, I strain again through a coffee filter just to get out anything that got through in the syrup. Okay, this is my favorite part. Once everything is combined, you're gonna add just a little bit of lemon. I put in about 1.5 teaspoons. This changes the color from that dusty purple to a brighter pinky purple. It's really pretty. And that's it. You now have your very own violet cordial. I like to present things to people, so I'm straining mine into a prettier bottle. But that's it. That's the whole process. It's sweet and a little bit tangy and floral, and it mixes well with all kinds of stuff. If you make this yourself, please feel free to come back and let me know. I'd love to hear what you came up with to do with it. And as a bonus, here's my favorite cocktail right now. It's perfect for spring. Tart, sweet, and refreshing. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope it inspires you to make something wild today. If you'd like to see more of what I'm doing, you can follow me on TikTok for smaller projects or on Instagram for pretty pictures. Have a great day!